So my name is Stella Meris. I'm based in Berlin and Basel. I'm originally from Switzerland, from Basel, and I studied fine arts at the University of Arts in Berlin. I graduated 2019, and yeah, I'm a multimedia artist with a big focus on painting. I also work in an artist collective that's doing performances and live happenings. I paint on different surfaces, on textile, on paper, also on plexiglass or wood. And for me, the canvas is also extending to space. Like you can see that later when I show you pictures of how I install my work in space. It's often really dealing with the space, the architecture of where it's shown. And my work in generally is driven by an open approach to painting, and also by curiosity of like what can work with different materials, how painting can be understood also in the contemporary time, also in relation to digital media. So I also started working with 3D softwares. I'm doing also virtual reality and augmented reality, as for example, Instagram filters, and some questioning the role of painting in different ways. Another part is, as I mentioned before, the collective that I'm working in, that is bringing also into question my role as a painter, like how my paintings sometimes become stage design for the performances or for the videos, that they take on different roles, or also objects become activated through performance. And so I'm also very interested in collaborating with other artists. That I think is a big important part for me, especially as a painter, because usually in painting you more focused on your own practice in the studio. So for me, having also this exchange with artists that work in different media is quite important and influencing also my work. Yeah, and I also like to take risks sometimes in my work. Like I think that there's always this excitement for me to discover new methods and to develop what I have built already and to go a step further. And for that, I think it needs a certain always wanting to learn more. I usually work on several pieces at the same time. Also because sometimes I roll up my pieces before they finished, and I put them aside. I work on other paintings and then I take them back in. So some paintings take a really long time period from the start to the end. And sometimes I really work on it over a stretch of 2 years, 3 years. So it also depends, of course, on the size. As I said before, I have some paintings that are very big and that are becoming as a format that could also be a stage design. So one I, for example, worked on since 2018, and I finished it this year. So you can see there is differentiation in the time. I cannot answer it in generally for every painting. And sometimes it also happens that a painting is finished in one process without putting it aside, like in a shorter time. But I work with a lot of layers, so that's I think why it takes a lot of time, because I have to construct the images from all these symbols and layers. Yeah, I'm a very sensitive to colors. I have practiced a lot with painting. So I think that it comes through, on one side, through the practice, like through the experience, that I can understand how the colors match together, how they feel fitting for me. And then I guess also by the layers. Like I work as long on a painting until I have a feeling that it's finished. And that's always the process also to to create that feeling of, okay, it's actually working together. Sometimes in the process, it doesn't quite hold together, the painting, and then I need to work on it. I'm interested in the topic of gender for a long time. It comes also from my personal experience that I really question the gender binary. I am myself non-binary artist, and I also like to express myself, sometimes more male, more female, like it really depends. As I got this interest in the topic from my own, how I see myself, how I understand gender myself. And then I got involved also in the queer community because I'm also a queer artist. So I realized that the question of gender is so much more than just to question our body. Like, it's about how mindsets are built, how we interact with each other. So I think it's a quite big influence on my work. So this is the first work I wanted to introduce. It's called Double Spirit, Please. It's now in an exhibition in Berlin. And as you can see, I talked about it before, that I often hang my work in the space. You can also see some details on the left side of the painting. On the upper part, there's little stamps that I also included in this like stamping technique. Also in the left upper part, also you can see the hands. You can see the hands here. You can see them there. That's a symbol that often reappears in my painting, like body parts or outlines of bodies, that together with the more abstract elements also build spaces and interact with urban spaces. So yeah, in this painting, I layered this on one side, this figure that you can see also here in the middle, the face, and the two hands that belong to the figure, but then also a more abstract color and symbol-based shapes. I have a second picture of the same installation from a little bit different angle. Now you can also see the blue painting on the right side. That's called Trust Your Gut Feeling, and it's made in a similar technique. Also, I developed those two paintings together. And the measurements of the first one is 2.17 meters high. So it's also quite tall for a person to stand in front of it. The next work is the video performance that I talked about before, that we did last year in Berlin with the collective. It's called The First Super. It's 7 minutes.
I sat beside him, punch drunk. Grief unclenched my crazy heart. I poured in his ears lyrics of love. Oh my love, my lover, it's you I want. Life-giving arts, it's you I crave. I sat beside him, punch drunk. Grief unclenched my crazy heart. I poured in his ears lyrics of love. Oh my love, my lover, it's you I want.
I think in generally what I get a lot as a response, that it's very about the feeling of being alive, of being like activated, or and it can, I mean, on the first glance, I think my work often evokes a positive feeling like joy, or the colors make you more like happy. Sometimes there is also pain or grief or body parts that, so there is a bit of a contrast, like two different poles. On one side there is a very life confirming positive look to my work that I also really want people to feel, and on the other side it's also confronting us with trauma, with pain, like with this hurtful aspects of life. So yeah, I think for me it's about balancing out these different feelings.